Hello, I'm Dr. Olivia Thompson, and today I need to tell you something that could completely change the way you view that cup of coffee you drink every day. If you're over 60 years old, or you know someone in this age range, pay very close attention because what I'm about to reveal could be the difference between preserving your crystal clear memory or accelerating cognitive decline without even realizing. That innocent cup of coffee you drink every day could be saving your brain from dementia or stealing your mental clarity. And the difference isn't in the coffee itself, but in three simple details that most people completely ignore. Did you know that coffee can reduce the risk of Alzheimer's by up to 65% when consumed the right way? But when consumed incorrectly, it does exactly the opposite, accelerating brain aging and damaging your memory silently. And the scariest part is that millions of people are doing it wrong at this very moment, thinking they're taking care of themselves. So let me ask you something honestly. Do you drink coffee right after waking up, on an empty stomach, with sugar or sweetener? Do you repeat the dose after lunch? If the answer is yes, stay with me until the end, because you're about to discover why your mind feels foggy, why you forget names easily, and why you feel that mental fatigue even after drinking coffee. Let me explain what really happens in your brain after 60, because when you understand the science behind all of this, the changes become obvious and simple to implement. With natural aging, our brain goes through important transformations that we need to respect. The production of essential neurotransmitters like dopamine and acetylcholine begins to decrease. These are the substances responsible for your ability to focus, remember, and stay motivated. At the same time, that protective barrier of the brain, called the blood-brain barrier, which functions as a shield preventing toxins from reaching neurons, becomes more permeable, more fragile. And there's more. Something called inflammaging begins to happen, which is a chronic low-grade inflammation that damages your neural connections little by little, every single day. Now here comes the fascinating part. Coffee, when consumed the right way, is literally one of the most powerful allies you have against all of this. It's packed with polyphenols and chlorogenic acid, potent antioxidants that fight free radicals and protect your neurons like true soldiers. Caffeine stimulates the production of a protein called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is absolutely essential for creating new synapses and preserving your long-term memory. Imagine having a natural substance that literally helps your brain create new connections and strengthen existing ones. That's exactly what coffee does when you know how to use it. But what about when you consume it wrong? That's when the story completely changes. Coffee can increase cortisol at critical times, completely dysregulate your sleep, which is precisely when the brain does that essential cleanup of toxic proteins like beta amyloid, that protein associated with Alzheimer's. And there's more. It can cause absurd glucose spikes that directly inflame the hippocampus, which is the brain region responsible for your memory. Let me tell you the real story of one of my patients. I'll call her Helen to preserve her privacy. Helen came to my office at 67 years old, completely desperate, saying she could no longer remember the names of people close to her, missed important appointments, and lived with a constant feeling of mental confusion. She was convinced it was Alzheimer's beginning and had already resigned herself to it. When I investigated her history, one detail immediately caught my attention. She drank coffee with sugar and whole milk right after waking up, still on an empty stomach, and religiously repeated the dose at 2 in the afternoon, right after lunch. When I explained to Helen what was really happening in her brain, she was absolutely shocked. The coffee on an empty stomach was triggering her cortisol, which is already naturally high in the morning, creating unnecessary metabolic stress. The sugar caused a glycemic spike followed by a sharp drop, generating that terrible mental fatigue. And the afternoon coffee was completely destroying the quality of her deep sleep, preventing the brain from doing that essential nighttime cleanup. We changed just 3 simple things in her routine. Just 3. In 6 weeks, Helen returned to the office with a radiant smile on her face and said something I'll never forget. "Doctor, my mind came back. I can think again, I can remember, I can live." Can you imagine the transformation? So let's get straight to what matters. Let's talk about the 3 fundamental rules of coffee that protects the brain after 60. And I want you to pay attention to every detail because each one is based on years of scientific research and real results with thousands of patients. The first rule is about when to drink it, because timing can literally save or destroy coffee's benefit. Never, and I repeat, never drink coffee on an empty stomach right after waking up. This is probably the most common mistake I see every day. You need to wait 60 to 90 minutes after getting out of bed. Why? Because during this morning period, right after waking up, your cortisol is at its natural peak. That's how the body works. When you add caffeine at that moment, you brutally amplify metabolic stress and directly damage the hippocampus. The ideal window for coffee is between 9:30 and 11:30 in the morning. At this time, cortisol has already naturally decreased, and caffeine will enhance your concentration and focus without overloading your nervous system. And here's another crucial piece of information. Your last cup of coffee should be at 2 in the afternoon at the latest. After this time, caffeine can remain in your body for up to 8 hours, completely disrupting deep sleep, which is exactly the phase where the brain's glymphatic system removes toxins, including those Alzheimer's plaques. Are you already doing this? Have you been respecting these times? The second fundamental rule is about how to prepare coffee, because the preparation method makes a gigantic difference in the benefits you'll obtain. Always prefer drip coffee or filtered with paper filter. This simple method removes substances called cafestol and kawul, which increase LDL cholesterol and cause vascular inflammation, damaging brain circulation. Avoid consuming espresso in excess or French press coffee every day. These methods concentrate oils that, especially after 60, can raise your cholesterol and compromise blood flow to the brain. Always use filtered water and fresh beans. Old or poorly stored coffee completely loses its antioxidants and may even contain mycotoxins that are neurotoxic. It seems like a small detail, but believe me, it makes all the difference in the final result. The third rule, and perhaps the most important, is about what you add or avoid in your coffee. This part is crucial. Never add refined sugar because it spikes your blood glucose and directly inflames the hippocampus. Avoid whole milk or heavy cream because these saturated fats in excess can reduce the absorption of beneficial polyphenols and increase brain inflammation. And be careful with artificial sweeteners, because scientific studies have already associated substances like aspartame and sucralose with damage to the gut microbiota, which communicates directly with the brain through the gut-brain axis. So what should you add? Cinnamon, half a teaspoon per cup. It regulates blood glucose and has powerful anti-inflammatory properties. Coconut oil or MCT, just 1 teaspoon, because it provides ketones, which are an excellent alternative fuel for aging neurons. If you like creaminess, use unsweetened plant milk, like almond or coconut milk. And here's an incredible tip. Add pure cocoa because it brings flavonoids that improve cerebral blood flow impressively. Now you must be wondering, what's the right dose? How much coffee should I drink per day? For people over 60, the ideal is 1 to 2 cups per day. Maximum 300 milligrams of caffeine, which equals about 2 cups of drip coffee. More than that can overload your cardiovascular system and increase anxiety, damaging your executive function. And if you have high blood pressure, atrial fibrillation, or insomnia problems, please talk to your doctor before making any adjustments to the amount of coffee you consume. You know what's most fascinating about all this? The transformation happens in weeks. You don't need to wait years to see results. When you adjust these 3 pillars, the correct timing, proper preparation, and the right additives, coffee literally transforms into a neuroprotective shield. In the first and second week, you'll notice more stable energy throughout the day, without those horrible peaks and crashes. In the third and fourth week, you'll perceive a significant improvement in mental clarity, focus, and ability to remember names and appointments. And after 8 weeks, scientific studies show that proper coffee consumption reduces the risk of developing Alzheimer's and Parkinson's by up to 65%, protecting dopaminergic neurons and increasing your cognitive reserve. Imagine the results with this simple change in your routine. Based on decades of scientific research and thousands of patients I've followed throughout my career, I can affirm with total conviction, coffee can be one of the greatest allies of your brain after 60, or it can be a silent enemy that slowly steals your lucidity little by little. The difference lies in 3 simple decisions you make every day, decisions you now know. Start tomorrow. Wait 90 minutes to have your first cup. Use a paper filter, add cinnamon instead of sugar. And carefully observe the changes. Your mind will thank you in a way you can't even imagine, because aging with lucidity, with sharp memory, with mental clarity, that's not luck, it's not privileged genetics, it's science applied with wisdom in daily choices. And that cup of coffee, taken the right way, can literally be the dividing line between a brilliant and vibrant mind at 80, 90 years old, or a memory that slowly fades away. If you made it this far, it means you really care about your brain health, and that's wonderful. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these mistakes were you making? Were you drinking coffee on an empty stomach, adding sugar? Leave it here in the comments. Share your experience with me, because I read them all and love knowing about each person's journey. And if you know someone over 60 who drinks coffee every day, share this video with that person, because you could literally be helping to preserve the memory and lucidity of someone you love. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications to receive all the content about longevity and brain health, because here we talk about real science applied in real life, so you can live longer and better. Longevity begins with small daily choices, and morning coffee is one of them. Stay with me. See you in the next video, and remember, your mind deserves the best care. Take care.